Welcome back to the Impossible Interviews by Roberto Rossi. It's me. After the incredible Impossible interview, number 1, with Route 66, the link to which you can find in the description. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing my beloved New York City. Hello, New York. I am excited once again to be able to interview you. It is an incredible honor for me. I am really very, very attached to you. My first trip to the United States was to New York City, so I came to visit you for the first time on my trip to the United States. So first of all, I want to ask you how you are doing very simply.
Good morning. I feel as always, lively and constantly evolving. Every day brings new challenges and opportunities, but my energy and spirit remain indomitable. I am ready to continue growing and renewing myself.
Well, I had no doubts. Listen, in the collective imagination, you are considered the city that never sleeps. How do you feel about that?
I am the city that never sleeps since my industrial development in the 19th century. Even then, with gas and later electric street lighting. Commercial, cultural, and social activities could continue even at night. This has helped build my reputation as an always active metropolis.
Your skyline is probably the most famous in the world. It excites me every time I come back, even though I have visited you many times. You have some incredible buildings. The Empire State Building and the Chrysler Building come to mind, but also the entire skyline seen from Brooklyn is impressive. It's stunning. Can you tell us about it?
It is a great pride. Each building represents a milestone in my history. The Empire State Building is a symbol of hope and resilience, built during the Great Depression. The Chrysler Building, with its Art Deco design, represents the innovation and beauty of 20th century architecture. These buildings, along with many others, contribute to my unique identity.
Well, I had no doubts. Listen, over the years you have experienced many important historical moments. From your point of view, which ones are the most significant?
There have been many. My foundation by the Dutch in 1624, the arrival of millions of immigrants through Ellis Island, who contributed to my cultural diversity, the stock market crash of 1929, which had a huge impact on the global economy, and the September 11, 2001 attack, a moment of great sorrow, but also of incredible unity and strength. Recently, the COVID-19 pandemic has posed an unprecedented challenge, but it has also demonstrated the resilience of my inhabitants.
Your artistic and cultural scene, and what are its most defining characteristics? I ask you this because I am very attached to this aspect as well. One of the things I have most appreciated and continue to appreciate about you is a part of my life that convinced me to take my first trip to New York City and come visit you.
I am a melting pot of cultures and traditions. My art scene is vibrant and diverse. Broadway offers some of the best theatrical performances in the world. My museums like the MoMA, Museum of Modern Art, Met, Metropolitan Museum of Art, and the Guggenheim host invaluable art collections. And the art galleries in Chelsea and the murals in Bushwick are just a taste of the creativity that fills my streets. Additionally, I host a myriad of cultural and music festivals that celebrate the diversity of my inhabitants.
Speaking of cuisine, since we Italians love this topic so much, can you tell me what dish do you think represents you the most?
My culinary scene is as diverse as my inhabitants. You can find restaurants of every imaginable cuisine. From Michelin-starred restaurants, the food trucks offering delicious street food. If I had to choose a dish that represents me, I would say it's pizza. New York-style pizza, with its thin and crispy crust, is loved by everyone. and reflects my ability to take something simple and make it exceptional.
Speaking about the future, how do you see your future, the future of New York City? What are the challenges you are about to face, that you are already facing? And above all, how do you approach what lies ahead of you in the coming years?
The future is always uncertain, but I am resilient. The challenges include climate change, urban sustainability, social equity, and economic accessibility. However, I also see great opportunities in technology, innovation, and the ongoing cultural diversification. I am working to become a greener, more sustainable, and inclusive city, with initiatives to reduce the carbon footprint, improve public transportation, and make housing more accessible.
In my view, you experienced one of the most beautiful periods in your entire history during the 80s. I am very attached to that historical period because I was a young man, and at the end of the 80s, I decided to embark on the journey of my life to come and meet you. The first time was actually in 1990. The 80s had just ended. What do you remember about those years? What aspects are still the most vivid in your mind?
The 1980s were a period of great ferment. It was a decade marked by the birth and explosion of new urban cultures such as hip-hop, punk, and street art. My neighborhoods, particularly the Bronx and Manhattan, have become the stage for emerging artists and musicians. It was an era of contrasts, with visible economic growth, but also great challenges like the AIDS crisis and rising crime, END.
In my opinion, pop art is one of the most beautiful things that happened in those years. In New York City, moreover, I am very attached to pop art. Listen, tell me a bit about it, because I'm really curious to understand how you also experienced that historical period.
Pop art has been revolutionary for my art scene. In the 1960s and 1970s, artists like Andy Warhol, Keith Haring, and Roy Lichtenstein transformed the way art is perceived by integrating elements of popular culture and advertising. Warhol, with his factory, created a unique creative environment in the heart of Manhattan, where art, music, and fashion converged. Haring filled the city with stunning works of art. Pop art brought art out of traditional galleries and into the streets, influencing not only my artistic community, but also global popular culture.
Another important aspect, in my opinion, that I want to ask you about is related to music. The music that comes from New York City really influences the lives of us Italians and us Europeans a lot. Tell me a bit about this artistic and musical aspect of yours.
My music scene is one of the richest and most diverse in the world. In the 1920s and 1930s, I was the center of jazz, with Harlem hosting legends like Duke Ellington and Billie Holiday. In the 1950s and 1960s, rock and roll and folk music found a home in my clubs in Greenwich Village, with artists like Bob Dylan and Simon and Garfunkel. The 1970s saw the birth of punk at CBGB, and the explosion of disco and at Studio 54. In the 1980s, hip-hop emerged from the Bronx, becoming one of the most influential cultural forces globally. Today, it continues to be an epicenter for every imaginable musical genre, hosting concerts, festivals, and a constantly growing community of artists.
I have another question. I would like to know if you have anything to say to your residents, to the people who live in New York City.
To my residents, I would like to say thank you for your resilience, creativity, and indomitable spirit. Continue to do what you do best: innovate, create, and contribute to making me an extraordinary city. To the visitors, come and discover all that I have to offer. Each neighborhood has a story to tell, and I am sure you will find something special in each of them. Remember to explore beyond the most famous tourist attractions, because it is in the hidden details that the true soul of New York City is found.
Look, I don't know how to thank you because, even though it was just for a few minutes, I had this incredible opportunity to interview you here in this segment of the Impossible Interviews by Roberto Rossi. I am super proud to have talked with you, and I got a bit emotional because, well, it's not every day that I get to interview you, to talk with you. So I would like to thank you immensely for everything.
The pleasure was mine. Come back soon to visit me so you can write more books about me, walk through my streets, and draw inspiration for a new novel, even though The Unexpected Journey is truly a wonderful and surprising story. I often see your city guide, 7 Days in New York City, in the hands of Italian tourists who are fascinated by my charisma and my story.
See you soon by New York City.
Sono dentro ad un taxi che pare percorrere una strada sognata più volte. Sono sopra il Brooklyn Bridge e il tassista insiste nel chiedermi in un inglese peggiore del mio se è tutto ok. E a questo punto, anche se sempre stordito, forse a causa del jet lag, chi lo sa, gli rispondo di sì. Bene, perché siamo quasi arrivati. Quasi arrivati dove? Rispondo io. Come dove? Al suo albergo. Ma cosa mi sarà successo veramente? Come mai sono qui senza ricordare nulla del viaggio in aereo o di altri particolari classici di chi fa una vacanza? Mi ricordo bene di essere svenuto. Il mal di testa me lo rende ancora ben evidente, ma non ricordo nient'altro.